Well, let's rip into Kier Starmer. So he's going up in numbers. So it's 2-tier Kier. It's now 3-gear tier. See what I did there? I used 3 as in 3. And he's... What's wrong with the man? He's received £107,000 worth of freebies. You know, and £20,000 for his son so that he can study in peace and quiet. What about the rest of us? Well, there's plenty of students out there who could probably do with a quiet space to study. But no, they're going to give it to some self-entitled multi-millionaire. He's worth £7 million, you know, Kier Starmer. He's saved his pension. His pension's written in stone now that he will get that pension for the rest of his life from his old job. And now his new job will give him a huge, great pension for the rest of his life. Oh, we know this because of, what's her name, that stupid Tory woman who was Prime Minister for a few days. She'll get the same pension for the rest of her life. And she only, spent a couple of days in power? And now we've got Labour. Now, I didn't vote Labour. I voted Reform. Now, I think all those people who didn't vote, they're the problems. They're the ones that allowed Labour to get in. Only 20% of the population voted Labour. And this is what we're getting now. The UK has become a communist state. So perhaps I should start referring to everyone as comrade. Free speech is dead. You can't complain about the government. You can't attend rallies because the police will come and beat you up. Pensioners are not going to get their heating allowance, or it will be means tested. It looks like people who saved up all their lives and got their own self-funded pension will have their state pension means tested, which I find absolutely ridiculous. We've paid our pension in. We took out private pensions so that we could make life easier when we started living on our state pension. Now, the state pension isn't a bonus. It's not a benefit. It's something that you and I are paid in for, and they're now saying, oh, that's a benefit, you can't have that anymore. Well, what a load of rubbish. They're also making people who are working beyond the age of retirement, they're going to make them to continue to pay national insurance. Now, the way I understand it is once you've reached retirement age, you no longer needed to pay your national insurance because you've contributed enough money to give you a pension. I think it's just wrong. All this time that Kier Starmer, £107,000 worth of freebies, is getting rather cosy to this Lord Ali. Maybe this explains the fact that Kier Starmer doesn't like white British Christians. He doesn't like anybody other than the Muslims. Now, Muslims are not a race, so I can't be racist. Now, I'm not doing hate speech, I'm just pointing out facts. You know, Kier Starmer protects the Muslims. He protects the rape gangs, he's protecting the migrants that are coming in, you know. Now, if you don't have a TV licence, you're going to get sued and fined. Yet, if you swim across the channel, you're going to be welcomed in with open arms and given a free house and a free TV licence. Yeah, it's not right, is it, that the British taxpayer has to fund this number of migrants coming in. 720 came in the other day. It's just unsustainable. I'm not talking about race. I don't know what race these migrants are that are coming across the channel. They could be any race, colour or creed. I don't care. It's the numbers I'm talking about. 720 in a day. That's just the ones that we know about. What about the ones that come in down at the other end of the channel, down at Devon and Cornwall, coming on the beaches there, unchecked? We know the ones that come over at Dover, they get picked up by the RNLI, which again, I've heard that the RNLI have turned down a proper rescue call because they were collecting migrants. at the time. So they've ignored people in distress to go and collect migrants who chose to come across the channel in small boats. Not those fishermen who get into difficulty. These people are working for a living. Not those people that get into difficulty. No, they're not worthy of saving. It's the migrants that pay a fortune to come across on small boats, knowing that they're coming into the country illegally. Now, they are coming into the country illegally, no matter what other people say. Oh, it's not, can't charge people, can't say that they're being illegals when they're migration. Well, they're not escaping a war zone, are they? France is not at war. I've been to France recently, and they don't understand why we're taking in so many of these migrants. And of course the French don't mind because they don't have to put up with it. My daughter was telling me that in France, if you fall on your hard times, the government will look after you. There's no need to be homeless in France because the government will look after you. Not in this country. You pay your taxes, pay your national insurance, fall out with your wife, become homeless, lose your job, right? You're stuck in a downward spiral, and there's no way out, because you won't get the help that you need. I just find it absolutely appalling. And then there's the police. The police are arresting people who turned up to these protests just for being at the protest. I cannot believe the state of the British policing. We find on YouTube, I don't know whether these people are living in England or not, but this morning, something that popped up on my news feed this morning was some people saying some terribly racist things about the British people. If it was the other way around, they'd be locked up like that, really quickly locked up and forgotten about, really. Posting something mean on Facebook gets you 2 years in prison. No, it's not right, is it? There's one particular guy who put out a picture of said, why is this acceptable? And he showed you a picture of a dinghy, and he was arrested and charged with racism. How is it racism when you don't know what race they are? They're just talking about the numbers. That's what most people are talking about. Yet, if you mention it, you're labelled far right. So, yeah, you got it. They've labelled me far right because I don't like the numbers of these people coming into the country illegally. Illegal migration is spoiling legal migration. The people that want to come to this country, they've got a job to go to, they've got some savings, they're going to make a positive contribution to this country. They're the ones that we should be allowing in, not the illegal migrants who have no intention of working. They absolutely want to come here because they want to dominate and take over this country, as we're finding out now when all this disruption in London of these Muslim marches. Now, again, mentioning the word Muslim, we've been conditioned to believe that if you mention the word Muslim, you're a racist. But what race is Muslims? Muslims follow a religion. It's like saying that I don't like Christians and saying that's racist. Well, what nationality are Christians? They're not. They could be any nationality, same as Muslims. They could be any nationality. Islam is a belief, not a race. So that's one thing that we have to get clear in this country, that religion is not limited to a particular race. It could be any race, any colour. Anyway, so that's just getting it off my chest. There's 2-tier Kier, 3-gear tier, no pension Kier, no petrol car Kier. This is the one that's going to destroy us. And that Ed Miliband, blimey, this is a guy that's going to plunge us into darkness. We're going to have so many blackouts for so long that the food in our fridges will spoil. So it's not right. Now, I've been at sea for God knows how many years. In fact, I'll tell you, it's 41 years I've been at sea. Now, I've seen the windmills being built around the UK. I've seen them in Europe, and I can tell you now, that there are days and days when those windmills do not turn. We listened to Ed Miliband. He said, "Oh, that's the future. You know, if we're not generating enough wind power, then we need to build more wind farms." But if you've got one windmill that's not turning, it's not going to generate any electricity. So if you build 1 million more wind turbines that aren't turning, so 1 million times 0 is still 0. But Ed Miliband seems to think that if he builds 1 million wind turbines, he's going to save a lot of money. But let me tell you now that wind turbines, they mine the materials using diesel engines because they haven't got the facility to use electric powered vehicles in these remote places. The construction of these things uses oil, coal-fired or fossil fuel bases, and then when they come to be recycled, you can't do it. You can't recycle wind turbine blades. You have to put them in the ground. Same with solar power. Right, the resources that go into building solar plant outweighs the benefits of having a solar panel. So, what are you going to do? I don't know. The key answer is we've got to start thinking about alternative forms of energy, not wind, not solar. We've got to build more nuclear plants. We've got to start building more hydro plants, and we've got to start developing alternatives, fuel sources like methanol. Like I said before, hydrogen, you can't have hydrogen because it's extremely volatile at low pressures and temperatures, and if you want to store it, you've got to store it at extremely high pressures in very heavy tanks, which is not sustainable. So the only real answer at the moment is methanol. We've got to go down that route, and of course, if we spend the energies into building new energy supplies like nuclear fusion, we could be free of petrol in the next 50 years. But no, they're going to go down the route of costing us absolutely billions of pounds. Now, I think I've estimated that my house runs on roughly about 2 megawatts a year. Now they're talking about 4 megawatts costing £400,000, something like that. Anyway, whatever the figure is, it's a phenomenal amount of money for using wind turbines to generate electricity. Now, you know, I know I've got a solar panel, and I was one of those people that was fooled into thinking that solar was the way forward. But how stupid was I when I found out that solar was going to the energy that went into building a solar panel and the resources that went into decommissioning of a solar panel was phenomenal, and it outweighed any of the. But yes, to me, it's free, but for the environment, it's. I feel guilty now. I feel really, really guilty. But what can you do? Anyway, so I've rambled on for far too long again, and I'll catch you all on the next one. And of course, there will be a next one.